Hi everyone, welcome to the live stream. I see that some of you guys have already joined and that you have said hi in the comments. We have Carol, Bambi, Debbie, Angus, Steve, Diane, Marianne. I'm sure I'm missing a few of you, but thank you for joining me today. Boy, I tell you what, I planned this, well, actually I planned it last week and then I had to reschedule to today. And I had no idea today was going to be so nice. It's really sunny outside, so it's kind of hard to be in here, but that's okay. So glad you guys could join me today. So I am right now just taping some paper down. I'm going to be working on a 1/4 sheet size. And hi everybody, so nice to see you guys. I can actually bring in comments. This is a test run because I'm not that familiar with doing live streams on YouTube. Oh, the comments you can't see. I'll have to see if I can change that. Hold on a sec while I want background to be white. This is me figuring out something as I'm doing it. Let's see if that works out. There we go. Now we can see the comments. So John Sullivan is from Virginia. I see Mississippi, Australia. Oh my gosh, Tennessee. Great to have you guys here. Okay, and Gail says, looking forward to your paint along. I watched your YouTube videos when I first began watercolor 5 years ago. Oh, that's awesome to hear. Thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna go over to my reference photo and hopefully you've printed this out. If not, and you're just gonna watch today, that's fine too. This is a photo that I took at the boatyard. It's pretty close to where I live. Sorry for the tape noise. You know, I knew I was forgetting something and then I remembered, oh yeah, I haven't taped my paper down. So anyway, this is a reference photo from the boatyard. I have reversed the photo just because I felt like I liked that red boat, the Grant. I liked it peeking out that direction rather than from the other side. I don't know why. I can't tell you why, but for some reason it just seemed like a little bit better composition rather than having it over on the other side. So let me go over to my overhead shot, and you can see that I have just some really simple basic lines drawn, and I'll show you what I'm going to be doing today is more like an ink and watercolor sketch. So I'm going to be using ink lines. I hope it's not too boring to watch me draw for a while. But what I started off with is a sketch. Let me get it real quick. Earlier today I did this sketch on drafting paper and I took my time getting the proportions right and everything. I was working from this photo, so it's a little bit bigger than 1:1, just a bit bigger, and got my layout done on the drafting paper, and then I used that to trace just a few guidelines for this so that I'm not just starting from scratch on a live stream because I haven't done a lot of live streams in a while, and I didn't want to totally flub up on the sketch. So I'm going to be starting off with ink lines. The marker that I used to do this is a Tombow brush pen. And what's nice about these things is that they are water soluble. So they actually kind of blend out. You don't have to worry about making mistakes as you go into the painting. They just kind of blend with the water. So that's what I used to, whoops. to do those initial lines. Now I'm going to work with a fountain pen. So if you have your sketch already done, you just can relax for a little while. And if you don't, then you can sketch right along with me. We have a question from Karina. She says, will this video be up for a day or two? Yes, I know it's late on the East Coast, so it will be up. You can watch the replay. Hopefully it should be recording as we show this live, and you can watch the replay later on. Thanks for asking. Thanks for joining in too. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. And I'm going to start, I think I'm going to start right about here. And I'll put my photo there in case you don't have it printed out. You can see, kind of see what I'm working from there. So I'm not very good at sketching and talking at the same time, but we'll see how I can do here. These old boats at the boatyard, most of them, not all of them, but most of them have been left and just abandoned, and they're slowly just disintegrating into the ground. And at some point, they'll get demolished. But the problem is that it takes money to dismantle them. So the Port Authority just kind of has to let them sit there, which is great for sketchers because we have this endless supply of these old boats to sketch. Now, as I sketch, I'm thinking about trying to work almost like a contour drawing, like a continual line. And I would be doing this exact same thing if I wasn't using ink. I just thought today I would show the ink work. I really think, you know, the longer I paint with watercolor, the more I believe that a good sketch is really crucial to the success of a watercolor painting. And at the same time, it can be kind of detrimental too. If you don't have a good sketch, if you don't feel good about it to start with. I see lots of other people saying hi. So thank you guys for saying hi. I know I can't respond to everybody, but it's really good to have you here today. Hope you've all been doing really well. Staying healthy, getting in line for the vaccine. I have a friend who got hers today, and my parents both have their first shots. So that's exciting. Now, if you are sketching and painting along with me, take a break and say so in the comments so I can see if you're following along or if you just happen to be watching. It really doesn't matter to me. But it would be interesting to see who's joining in. and I hope that you'll share your painting later on. You can like email me or message me or something. This area in the photograph is quite dark. I actually brightened it up on my computer. I should have brightened it up before I posted it online. It's good to have that much dark in the reference photo sometimes, but other times you're like, wait a minute, I need to know what is going on there. I need a little bit of information. So this boat has some kind of keel on it, I think is what it's called. I should ask my husband some technical questions. Oh, good. We have a couple people just watching and a couple people sketching and ready to work. All right. That's awesome. Yeah, I was originally going to do, it's more of a traditional watercolor, but I did a sketch of this little scene in my sketchbook using ink and just a bit of color. And I thought, you know, I think I just want to do that a little bit larger. Especially since I'm going to try to keep this about an hour, and I mean we're already 20 minutes in almost, so an hour and a half maybe, and you know that's not a lot of time to get a lot of watercolor painting done. So I'm gonna have to pick up the pace here. Sketching is so fun because the more you start sketching, the more you see, and you kind of get into the groove. So I'm going to put in just a few of these lines. I'll probably, I can think more about them later on as far as, you know, how tall do I want them to be and what else do I need to add. But I just want to get in a few now. I have this little radar. I do know what that is. It's a little radar thing. Tells the boat where they're at. Okay, now these need to come in. We got some miscellaneous stuff on the back of the boat there. Okay, I could really get lost. I mean, look at all those wires that are in there. There's a lot of stuff going on. I also noticed earlier when I zoomed in on this photo that there's this pipe coming out and they have like one of those little water jugs, like the Coleman water jugs. What would you call that? Like a thermos type of thing over the top of it. I thought that was funny. There's always just so much stuff. A lot of junk and rusty things and who knows what. And this thing in the back there, that's like a whole different video. This is like some kind of weird houseboat. We call it Noah's Ark. I think the guy actually lives in it with like, you know, no plumbing or electricity. I don't know. Maybe he's been kicked out by now. But anyway, we call it Noah's Ark. It is just the craziest contraption. Part house, part boat, but it's never going to see the water. Again, I don't think. Okay, so that's probably good. If I had more time, I would, if I was, you know, doing this on my own without the live stream going on, I would come in and do more shading before I moved on to the paint. You know, just kind of look at where are my darks on the reference photo, and then I would come in with the ink and I could do some cross hatching for shading, just to get that nice variety of ink and watercolor. You know, it's nice to have some ink in the shadow areas, but I can always do that later on too. So I'm gonna see, yes, this is on hot press paper. Bambi's asking, hi Bambi. This is hot press paper, and this is a Lamy Safari, and I believe it's an EF nib. Yeah, the lettering is so tiny, but it's an EF nib. Okay, we have someone watching from Scotland. How cool is that? Well, hello. And let's see if I have any other questions here. I think I think we got it. Yeah, I know it's a little late on the East Coast, so thanks for watching. Okay, and John says I seem like a natural at sketching and talking. Well, I don't know about that, but we'll see how I do with painting and talking. That may not work so well. Okay, so I'm gonna work on my paints. I need to move everything around a bit. I'm going to elevate my paper just a little bit so it's at a slight angle. And I've got my paints there. I've got clean water. And I've got some brushes. I think, wow, it's almost 4:30, 4:24. I'm gonna put in a bit of sky color before I start working on the boats. Now, because I'm treating this as more like an ink and watercolor sketch, I'm not gonna paint out to the edges. I'm gonna keep it more of a sketch type of feel. But I do feel because these are white boats, if I had white boats against white paper, it's not going to really work very well. I need to get a bit of background in, but I don't have to think about all of the stuff around the boats. I can just kind of give some suggestion of a sky. This palette is fairly new to me. And it's so new that I can't even remember what it's called. Let me see if I can. No, it doesn't have a name on it. But I did order it off of Amazon. I do know that. And so far I like it. The other type of palette just kept rusting on me no matter what, no matter how much I painted the inside. You know, it's just all at the coast, it's just always damp and I would always get rust under there. So I'm hoping where these are all just one unit, you know? So I'm hoping that I won't get the rust problem. Okay, here we go, jumping in to some sky. I'm gonna paint around the boat. This brush is a Chinese calligraphy brush, and the name is written in Chinese, so I can't tell you what it is. But I like it because it's really absorbent, and you can see when I flatten it like that, it gives almost the effect of a flat brush. Yes, the palette is metal, but it's not Holbein. I don't think it is. I think it's like an off-brand. I know it wasn't very expensive, so I will have to look, and maybe I'll look and I can put the link in the description. Okay, so now the challenge always is, what do you do at the edge? When you're not painting all the way out, what do you do? So when in doubt, that's what I do. And I'm just gonna soak up this excess. There's actually a little tree line over there that I may put in the hint of later on. But for now, I just gotta think about my edges around here before I get going on the boats. Okay, lots of excess water there. This is a natural hair brush. It's a combination. Gosh, I should have looked it up before I got on here, because I really can't remember what type it is. But it was not very expensive. And there's a website that I can link to that has a really great selection of these types of brushes for doing calligraphy work, and also, of course, painting. So some of that sky is peeking through. This boat's a little worn out. You can't really see. I mean, you can see through it in places. Okay, and all I'm doing right now is trying to connect a little bit so that the boats just aren't, you know, feeling super disconnected from that color that I've put down in the sky. Always soften edges whenever you can. And you can really soften edges when you're using ink like this, because the ink will define the edge for you. Okay, that's probably good for that part. Okay, let me see what we have in the comments. Susan is asking, is my workspace tilted? Yeah, I have my really fancy paper tilting device there, 2 rolls of masking tape. And John says, Oriental Art Supplies. I bet that's it. It's a website, and the store is in California. That's probably the one. Okay, I'll go ahead and go on. Now for some actual color other than the sky color. it's kind of nice when you're painting white boats because there's not a lot of color going on. It's a lot of light area. I'm going to switch to a smaller brush. Now I'm not going to leave that totally white. Most likely I'll come in and put a little tone on it, but because this sky is still so wet, I'm going to go down below first. And this red gets quite dark. And now we'll go on to some of that blue. It's pretty much the same color that's in the sky. I went to the art supply store a little while ago and they were out of cerulean blue, but they had in M gram, which is what I prefer, and they had cerulean blue deep, which I didn't even realize was a color. I actually like it because you can lighten it, you know, and it's more like cerulean blue, but just having it be a little darker is nice. Might last a little longer, I don't know. So I'm keeping this blue more vibrant, and then I'm toning this blue down using raw umber. And even though this edge is quite dark, I want to soften it right there, because that's not really an important edge to me. My Cadmium Red, I don't know what the story is there. The one thing about this palette is it doesn't, I don't have the colors quite right yet. So I was going to use some Cadmium Red a couple days ago and I thought, oh, I don't even have it on my palette. So I found a little spot for it there, but okay, I've got to think about how do I want to do this cast shadow. I haven't put much thought into that. I'm going to switch back to the bigger brush. Because I'm doing this on the white of the paper and not really painting out to the edge, I'm going to keep my cast shadow a little lighter than what I might normally do. Okay. I think that's going to be all right for just a simple, I'm not crazy about this part right here. That's the thing about trying to do more of a simple sketch. Like at what point do you leave out the information? You know, you don't want it to just look too plain, but you do need to leave out a lot of the information. So I think I like that better, kind of connecting. How are we doing here? Okay. That looks pretty good. This seems to be floating right there, and that probably shouldn't be floating in air. This whole thing should actually be dark. One advantage to painting in a live stream is I can look up on my monitor and see the painting in progress. So it's almost like stepping back from it. You can see your mistakes a little easier. Okay, so let's see if we had questions. Here's one. Angus says, did you say the ink was water soluble? The first ink that Tomboy, I think it's Tombow. These brush pens are water soluble. So if I use a light, this is a set that you can buy, the gray, it's a 10-piece set, I think. And if I used a light color like this, we'll see if I'm correct in my assumption. But if I drew a line right there, can you see that? It's really pale. And then I go over it with water. It'll blend out. So it doesn't disappear completely, but if you're putting a tone on, then it does kind of disappear. And I used it for those initial lines, just a few lay-in lines. So it's kind of a nice option because it does blend in, and you can even use darker tones and then it'll blend with the water. You know, it'll act kind of like a shade when you blend it with the watercolor. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I need to put more color on that, but I'm gonna move on to some other areas here. So in the reference photo, this side is kind of dark. Oh, we did have a question about my class. I do have a class coming up in March, and it's all about, it's called Art from Life, and it's all about working from life, obviously, working on a still life or working on something that you see, you know, if you're out and about, but in a really relaxed way, you know, and so you're not thinking about this grand still life that you have to set up. You're thinking about, okay, I have a little snack here that I'm gonna munch on, and before I eat it, I'm gonna do a little painting of it. You know, and it's really an amazing way to work because you're not waiting for the perfect scene or the perfect day for plein air painting. You're just working. And I have been painting and sketching every day this year. I mark it on my calendar. So I've been doing it every day, and it's just amazing how I don't know, it's just a shift in your thought process that instead of, you know, waiting like, oh, I can't go plein air painting today because the weather's not nice and it's supposed to rain later. Well, I just go park somewhere in my car and just do a little sketch you know, or I've put something on my desk and sketch it. So it could be anything from flowers to a banana to onions, or it doesn't really matter what it is. And you could do a street scene or just a little, you know, something that you, like from a parking lot. I'm really excited about the class because it's different than anything that I've ever taught, as far as there's a pretty big focus on sketching and drawing, but also adding paint to those sketches and drawings. So I'll show you my sketch of this. You may have seen it. I don't know if you're following me on. I think I posted it on Instagram, maybe Facebook, I can't remember. But this is the same scene, and I obviously sketched from the photograph because it's reversed from real life. Real life, it's flipped the other way. But this is another little boat, and I did that from the boatyard. So I have another, this is another boat that I did just the other day from the boatyard. An old truck. Oh, I did these. The boatyard's only like 2 minutes away from me. So I really have no excuse to go over there, no matter what the day is like. Even if it's raining, I can go over there. This is my neighbor's cherry tree that's blooming right now. So yeah, that's my sketchbook. One of them. I actually have two that I'm working in. Okay, so back to this guy. This part's really bugging me, so I gotta fix it. And I need a little bit more. Let me grab some cadmium red. Oh, this one's almost dried up. That's a really old tube. I forgot about that. That's why I haven't used it up. You guys ever had watercolor paint dry out on you? I haven't very often, but every so often it dries out, and then I like cut it open and pry the paint out, because I'm not gonna give up on it. Okay, so that helps. See, just having that bit more of a bright red. And then I want it to go to like a scarlet, kind of a burgundy. That red boat's the whole reason why I chose this. So I gotta put it in there. Okay, let's see. What else do I need to do? No, if you'd like more information about my class coming up, just let me know, because I know that I probably didn't explain it very well. So I'm trying to paint, and I didn't really prepare. I should have had like a screenshot of my upcoming class to show you more info about it. I'm still in the filming process. Last night I filmed shading and watercolor. Okay, question on what color is in the upper right hand pan. This one, that's neutral tint and that's raw umber. I put the neutral tint in there for, actually that might be Payne's Gray. I think I'm out of neutral tint. I put it in there for a specific reason and then I thought, oh, now I don't have a place for raw umber. That's why I'm still getting used to this palette, and as soon as I put a color in there, I feel like, oh, wait a minute, I need that space back. But I do love it. I love having the bigger mixing area. I cleaned it right before this video. Okay, so some cast shadow time. I love the white of the boat, but I feel like it's a little too white, especially since, you know, to kind of represent this boat. This boat's a little bit worn out, and I don't think there's anything really white left on it. There's a lot of rust and faded paint and chipped paint. Plus there is a cast shadow on that part of the white. And same thing here, we have a cast shadow. I may keep this white and kind of tone down this side. And I feel like this is a little too white also. You got to proceed with caution though, because once you get rid of that white of the paper, you really tell it's gone. So like a little bit of white right there is probably good. I like that white there showing. And this boat in the background, I really haven't done anything with it, but it does have, there's in the reference photo, there's a pickup parked in front of it. We're gonna forget that there's a pickup there. And I definitely don't want to put in a lot of information because I am treating this very simple where it's really more about this area. But I do want to just connect. Just make a little connection there, and then the windows. Maybe make a connection on this side as well. There's a boat in the background that has a blue stripe. Nice and simple. Okay, I have a couple questions about the online class. So while I'm thinking of what else I need to do, I'll talk about that. The online class is about a 5-week class. It starts in March. I will release the content a week at a time, but you don't have to be online at any specific time. I will have a live stream each week, and the live streams I have scheduled for Tuesdays, but I haven't picked the time yet because I kind of wanted to get a feel for what would work best for people. And of course the live streams will be recorded. Now the one thing that I have not added yet, which I think is an important part, would be the rust color. And I'm gonna mix, I have transparent, what is it called? Transparent red oxide and nickel quinacridone gold. And together they make a pretty good rust color. I throw on just a touch of cadmium. I see some rust here and rust there. I have a really, almost like a rigger that would work great for this. Tiny little touches, but that definitely tells the story of these old rusty boats. Okay, I think I'm almost to the point where I can, you know, start wrapping this up. What I am going to do most likely is come back in with some more ink work and do a little more, you know, a little more details, a little more shadows with the ink lines. Trying to see if there's a place where it's dry enough to show you. Let's see, what time is it? Not quite 5. That's good. You're doing good. I think this way, this area might need to have more going on. Trying to figure out. Yeah, I think I'll just paint it in. My goodness. I wanted to just get kind of a blue-gray. Now see in the reference photo how dark that is? I mean, it's quite dark. And mine's just like total mid-tone. So we'll see how this goes. And then I've got to leave some of that as the board. Like I probably should have left that, but that's okay. We'll make this as a background board, like one that's inside. Nobody's gonna care, right? I don't know what that was supposed to be. There's nothing like that in the reference photo. I just drew something. I don't know what it's supposed to be. Okay. I feel like this guy's pretty much done. I don't know. One of the lessons in the class coming up is knowing when to stop. And that's always such a difficult thing to answer. But I usually have this feeling where I'm like looking for things to fix then I know, oh, maybe that's when I need to stop. You know, when you start picking things apart and saying, oh, I should have done this here and I should have done that there. It's like, oh, that's probably a good time to, at the very least, take a break. So I feel like I'm almost at that point right here in this video. All right, I'm going to give that a minute while I look, see if there's any other questions. We have a question from, I'm not sure how I would say your name, Tylara. Hopefully I'm not saying that totally wrong. It's a beautiful name. Tylara Duncan says, I love your wet into wet work. Will there be much content in the course with that style? Yeah, it's pretty much the only style I do is more loose and wet and kind of, I would say almost a little bit messy. But I love that because it allows watercolor to do its thing. Like for instance, in the sky area here, some people would really be upset about those blooms. You know, I actually kind of like them because I've let the watercolor create that, and I think it just gives an interesting effect. Of course, with some areas you wouldn't want blooms, but for me, the more I paint, the more I like to have that look of watercolor. Like I just want it to look like I didn't force it to do anything, and like I'm slightly on the edge of being out of control with the paint. That's just kind of the look that I prefer. So it's usually how I teach as well. Let's see, Angus had a comment about cadmium red. Has seemed to become issues lately. Any direction? You know, I have a color called, let me grab it. Oh, darn it. Now I can't. I don't think this is the one I'm thinking of. But this is a naphtha red. And it's a little bit, it may be a little bit rosier than cadmium, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. So there are definitely other options out there for reds. Yeah, this is just a little bit pinker. I really don't have any place I can. Yeah, but I have another red somewhere that is more like cadmium. So there are other options out there. Well, guys, I think before I mess this up, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I know that I will work on it a little bit more. I feel like I might need to darken this, maybe make another cast shadow coming out from there, and then I'll do a little bit more work with my fountain pen once this all dries. So I will, I'll post my finished painting on Instagram and on my Facebook page, and I would encourage you to share your version of your painting with me. Let me know. I'll just stay on here for another minute if you have any last minute questions. And thanks a lot for joining me today. It was a lot of fun. I feel like that color got a little dull on me. So I'll lift some of it up and maybe change. It's all too much the same color. Anyway, it looks like you guys are all good to go. I don't see any last minute questions coming in, so I will wrap it up and I'll go back to my regular camera here so you can see my face. But yeah, thanks for watching today, and be sure to stay in touch and let me know if you have any questions about anything you saw here today. So take care and have a good day. Bye-bye.